All right.
Hi there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hilary.
And I'm Dana, and we're creating this video to tell you a little bit about our newest offering called the Body Trust Project of a School of Unlearning, or a School for Unlearning. We're going to talk a little bit about this new program, why we started it, and I think let's start by talking about why we call it the School for Unlearning.
Yeah, let's do that. A lot of us learned about diet culture and began learning about diet culture before we could consent. And so a lot of the beliefs that we formed around bodies and health and what bodies have value became a part of us before we even knew it happened. And so a lot of what we're doing when we learn to divest from diet culture, when we work on our healing process, involves unlearning and unraveling a lot of the ideas we've been taught about bodies that have actually harmed us, not served us, or made it very difficult to occupy our bodies or take care of ourselves.
Yes, yeah. When I can't remember what book it was that I was reading, but the author had said, "Who are your unteachers?"
Mm,
And it was kind of the first time I remember thinking about, oh yeah, we're in a lot of ways the work we do with people is really about we're unteachers. We often say there's a lot more to unlearn than there is to learn, and this is really about returning to something that you were born with, that you had when you came into this world. It's kind of the way Sonia Renee Taylor talks about radical self-love, that this has always been within you. And we've just been socialized and indoctrinated into really harmful ways of thinking about the body and food and weight and health and worthiness.
yeah, there's a lot to unlearn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it takes some time. And we have always offered this 6-week program that's been really tried and true. It's been offered, it's called No More Waiting. We've offered it over and over and over again. And it's been really valuable to people that participated, but we've always known that we wanted to offer something that was a longer process and maybe a little more true to how this process actually goes, that it takes time, that that we proceed slowly and cautiously as we let this unraveling happen. And so this course happens over 9 months with a different focus each month. And we think, given our experience of working with this body trust paradigm, that better probably mimics what's needed, that this takes time.
Yeah. I think a lot of times when people start to explore this work, they're so used to diet culture's quick fixes. And, um, I often say when you go on a new diet or weight loss plan or program or health plan, um, most they're very rigid. They're often rooted in perfectionism. There's a lot of rules and right and wrong and things you're supposed to do and not do. And so within a day or a couple of days, if you're doing it right,
Yeah.
right. And um, and this work is not at all like that. And so I think people often feel like they're flailing or doing it wrong. And I think Savala Tripchinsky's talk in the Body Trust Summit um, really was eye-opening for many of the listeners and viewers in the summit, because I just remember the comments like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this wrong. Oh my gosh, this is the process.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, like this is what it looks like. It was so validating to know that when we are unlearning years and years, what's often been a lifetime of hustling in the body project, um, it's there are no shortcuts, and that's really uncomfortable for people. um, Savala talks about crossing the bridge from diet culture to body trust, right? And how do we cross the bridge? And that's really, I think, a great way of thinking about this
Mhm.
program is
Yeah.
we're going to help you cross the bridge from diet culture to body trust, and help you know what's on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah. I mean, so many of us don't cross the bridge. We learn about the bridge. We read all of the things and we listen to all the podcasts about non-diet approaches. But we have this intuition that crossing the bridge is going to be scary, or that there's going to be losses, or we're not sure we're ready to give up the promises of diet culture that never show up, by the way, but the promises of diet culture. And and you know, we need a lot of support to cross the bridge, and we also need some help kind of sourcing the wisdom as to why to do it. Like, why is it time? Why should we do it? And what is there for me on the other side? Sometimes I think as a movement, we're great at talking about why, but not always talking about what's there for us when we do, or what we get from this process. And we are going to invest a lot of time and energy in talking about why this is a liberatory process and what liberation means in the context of our bodies. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, like what's on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
I find myself thinking about how often people are kind of straddling. So they got
Mhm.
one foot on one side of the bridge and
Mhm.
another foot over here in diet culture, and people often cross the bridge and then go back.
Yeah.
And we want to help you cross the bridge and stay on the other side.
Yes.
And just know that the crossing and the going back and forth is very normal in healing, that it's not uncommon for people to dip their toes into body trust and then run back to diet culture. Um, and some of you, given what's going on in the world right now, um, the illusion of control may feel um, really seductive right now. And so, we want to help you cross the bridge and stay over on the other side, knowing that the healing really is in the return.
The return to the process, the return to your own truth, the return to liberation, or a liberatory model. Yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the things that makes us really excited about this program is we
Mhm.
get to geek out on some of the material that's been really bubbling up in our work um, in the last year or two, and really kind of flesh it out with you and unlearn with you. We are human beings that are still in process. And I think the day we think we have arrived is the day that our learning and our healing stops.
Yes.
And
Indeed.
so let's share a little bit about what some of these topics are.
Yes. Let's do it.
Our first month in April, which we get started next week, April 14th, um, is entering the wilderness. And we use that title because many of our clients feel like floating heads in the world. And when we enter the body, we're starting to enter the wilderness, that we're leaving the part of the mind. We're leaving a domain that's mapped and controlled by the mind and entering an uncharted territory. And so we're going to be geeking out on the developmental theory of embodiment and talking about the value of exploring your body story so you can reclaim body trust.
Yes. And then the month two, we're gonna continue with that idea, but also add in this this idea that we've been working with a lot, which is that self-care is actually a form of divestment. And we'll be talking about what divestment means and all the things that we're divesting from, and how that divestment process gives us choice about how to move forward. And the month after that, then we're going to be talking about reckoning with your identity as an eater, which is a really important topic that shouldn't be left out of this, is that learning how to be in your relationship with food, and what your relationship with food has meant, and what it means to choose to nourish and feed yourself, has been really complicated by diet culture. And we want to spend some time unraveling that with you.
Yeah, there's a lot we reckon with in this work, and our identity as an eater is one of them. In
Yes.
July, we'll be looking at and talking about ending the hustle for worthiness. In our TED Talk, we said, you know, are we as a society hustling for health, or are we hustling for worthiness? So we'll in July, we'll be focused on shame and shame resilience, and um, and better understand shame's role in our life and how it often keeps us in habitual patterns that we're really trying to get out of.
Yeah. And then we're going to dive into this topic called, or what we're calling, what does grief have to do with it? And I think it's the perfect thing to follow ending the hustle, because so often our hustle is keeping us from feeling what's going on just underneath the hustle. And there is so much grief that comes up for folks when they are unraveling diet culture and moving towards body trust, that we're really going to highlight grief and the importance of grief and what we mean by grief in this context.
Yeah. In September, we'll look at the topic is boundaries don't have to suck. So we'll look at our relationships to boundaries. Um, you know, one of a core element of a body trust practice is to reconnect with your needs and boundaries. And so we'll be looking at what boundaries look like in our life, why they're so hard to set, why they can be so helpful to our healing to set, and geek out on boundary work a bit.
Which paves the way for the next topic, which is pleasure as a measure of freedom. And pleasure, pleasure should be all the months almost, but really we're going to talk about what the F happened to pleasure, and why pleasure hasn't been a part of healing this whole time, and how pleasure can be so really central in your process of healing without it being, I mean, it's going to be scary, but how do we take it on board as also a teacher is something really essential to this process.
Yeah. And then what else do we have here? In November, we'll talk about reclaiming movement, reclaiming our relationship with movement. It's often been so disrupted by diet culture. A lot of times when people explore their body stories, one of the things that they really get pissed off about is how their relationship with movement was really taken from them when it became more performative or more about what they look like, when there was an aesthetic element to it. Also, for those of us socialized as women, we lose our agency, and oftentimes we're less likely to engage in sports and more likely to engage in physical activity as a form of like cosmetic fitness, where we're doing things to change the size and shape of our bodies, not because we like them or they make us feel good or bring us pleasure. So we'll look at your relationship to movement over the course of your lifetime, what you would like it to be, and just know that we don't have any like strong recommendations around movement. This isn't about being good or increasing your physical activity. It's really just about exploring what it's been like and what you want it to be and moving towards whatever that is.
Yes. And our last topic in December will be making your healing bigger than you. And the reason why we're talking about this is because we've noticed that when people move through a body trust practice and find that their roots are getting much deeper and that they're feeling much more stable in the practice of body trust, they feel a draw to share the process with others. And this is a movement, right? This isn't just an individualized healing process. This is a movement that is about freeing other bodies and centering other bodies and speaking on behalf of freedom and liberation for everyone. And that is something we see many of our clients naturally pulled to. So we're going to investigate ways to do that while still being able to stay true to your own process. And so, yeah, that's our 9 months. They sound really great. I'm excited just talking about them.
I know.
Yeah.
We will only offer this program once a year. So now is your time to join us. And You know, what you get with this program is a live webinar once a month with us. We'll be meeting on the second Tuesday of every month from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. We record all the webinars, so if you can't make a date, we'll be sending you the material and the recording of the call. In addition to the live monthly webinar with us, you'll get journaling prompts and love notes from us via email, as well as a curated resource list to help your learning on the topic each month. And we have equity pricing available, is I think the other thing I wanted to say. So you can find more about how to register and pricing and everything on our sales page, which is linked with this video.
Yeah, we
And
acknowledge that this is a hard time in the world. It's a hard time for all of us. And it's a hard time to consider using your resources in this way. And so we wanted to make sure that you knew that you have equity pricing, and you can just kind of tell us what is possible for you. We also have payment plans, and we want to make this as accessible as possible. So if you have more ideas about how we could do that, feel free to fill out an equity pricing form and let us know what you need.
yeah. So there you have it. A little bit more about this program.
Thanks for
If you have
being here.
yeah,
Listening.
thanks
You
for
made it all the way to
listening.
the end. That's great.
If you have questions, feel free to send them our way. We are really excited to do this. We're having a lot of fun putting together the material for the program, and we're really excited to unlearn with you.
Yes, let's unlearn together.
Yes. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.